Good morning, Don and Jane, and the wonderful GGR team, especially those of you that are creative, because that's my gift, and you guys are doing a really amazing job. You probably know me on the race because I probably give the longest comments when there's something that really interests me, because I've spent my entire adult life serving my country and serving my my fellow humans, especially those who are boaters, sailors, RVers, campers, because that's my passion, and it started at a very young age. I knew I was different. I'm the middle child of nine, and just knew I was unusual. But thank God I had parents that accepted me for who I was, and let me go on my adventures. Solo adventures by myself. I've spent most of my life by myself. I don't have the word bored in my vocabulary. I don't know what boredom is. When I hear people say it, it's beyond my comprehension, because there is so much to see, and there's so much going on up here all the time that create the next adventure, and I developed just an absolute passion for sailing, and especially in large bodies of water. When I was very young, preteens, when I picked up somehow or another, I picked up a National Geographic and found out that one of my fellow Americans that was 16 years old, Robin Graham, was sailing around the world. I thought, God. I thought I was having adventures, but that was the beginning of my passion with sailing. And as you can, if you sort of zoom in, this is right now. I have a small creative. I've been a professional photographer, videographer, and sound for over 20 years. And this actually is my creative space, but I haven't been doing much creativity since September the 4th. I call this now GGR 2022 Central, and as you can see in the background, I have. There's two things. There's the actual race, the live track, and I also in another window, I track myself. This is me as a virtual racer, and I love it. I've never done a game. I'm not a game person, computer game person, but I don't know. I'm so grateful, because as a GGR 22 is by far my favorite sailboat race. My sport all my life has been world sailing. Don't ask me about American sports. I no clue. Football and baseball and all that stuff is, I don't know. It's just not me. It's, if you don't have money, if you're not physically fit, but this GGR, God, some amazing entrants this year. My ancestry is English, German, and Irish, in that order. And wow, I've got all three, really. The Australian is because originally my ancestors were from Austria, and then moved to Germany, and then moved to England, and then America. So it feels like I've got at least one person for my whole ancestry in there, and they're all amazing. And As you can tell, I have a real passion for this race. I need it because this has been the most trying health year. I'm 66 years old, and I've never had really physical health. I've always struggled with the mental, and all I need to say is I'm a bipolar person, and that's all that needs to be said. There's real challenges to that, but there's also real blessings. Because in my high energy phase, I can get more done in a day than most people can do in a week. So I look forward to those stages, but I'm also look forward to the low energy stage where I can be real spiritual, read books. I can actually concentrate on one thing instead of trying to do 50 things. Right now in the middle, this is like the middle, But anyway, that's why I prefer to be interviewed, because I can ramble. I'm a rambler, and I like to tell stories in too much detail, especially. But I have some dear friends, my best friends, which I don't have many. I'm an introvert, so I have some very close relationship with a few people, and they let me know and really have helped me try to put some because I have no boundaries. I'm my creator created me as a creative person, and creative people, we really don't want boundaries. Anything with boundaries doesn't sit well with us. And so you might ask, how in the world did you serve your country under military structure? And that's what that is I spent full-time 17 full-time in the Coast Guard, enlisted in the Coast Guard, became a navigational electronics expert. I love fixing things. I have this gift of fixing anything that, I tried to fix people, it didn't work, but anything that you can see, mechanical, electrical, electronic, I just like, I just have that gift that there ain't much I can't fix. So it served me well. So most of my career, I better get back. I spent 4 years. I absolutely loved it. Was addicted to the Coast Guard. I was addicted to the Coast Guard at 13 because my father was one of those amazing World War II veterans that was on a small little Coast Guard plywood boat, and they were their entire job was off the North Atlantic all the way down the coast to look for the subs, the German subs, and then when they find one, then they call the big guns in. And so you can imagine 24/7 fear, because plywood boat, it's like, but they, painted it up and make it look like armor, but they were always in constant fear. And I just am amazed by his stories. And at 13, I made a commitment that, man, I want to experience that. My dad, I want to experience that, because after World War II, my dad was on the Great Lakes as a seaman and traveled on the Great Lakes until he married my mother. And my mother, before he married my mother said, "I don't want to marry a sailor, Howard. Get off the sailing, or you're not going to have me." Obviously, he chose to get off the water, but he, loved it, and followed my career. He just was, I was like, my dad's a very, very quiet man, but boy, when him and I get together, he just wanted to hear all the stories and all my adventures, and I think he sacrificed a lot for us, for his 9 children, and just an amazing father, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom, so here he is, a blue-collar guy, didn't even have a high school education, but he worked so hard, and he was very, very good at what he did. He, worked in a factory. He was the only one that was on the shift, because he could take, if somebody needed a tool and they give him drawings, he could make that tool, and whatever special tool, he didn't care, and I went down to see him, and I was just fascinated by what he did. all by himself. He was no supervision. Well, I didn't know what the heck he was doing, you know. But anyway, that's where I got my, in having these adventures. 13, I made a commitment to go in the Coast Guard because I wanted to be educated. I came from a very small place where General Motors was the main employee, and a lot of people never, you know, went anywhere because you could make more at that time in the 70s. You could make more at General Motors than any college graduate. It was just so, you know, but I wanted to have an adventure. So at 17, I had my father sign me into the Coast Guard. I graduated. I started school at 5 years old. Thank God, thank you, Dad, because I wanted to go to school early, and my, you know, so he let me go at 5, and you know, I lied about whatever, and I graduated at 17, and immediately, almost immediately, I took a summer adventure. My last civilian's adventure, I RV'd. A buddy of mine was just amazing. His father owned an RV company. We just RV'd and went around, just, you know, had an adventure before I went in. And so I went in and spent 4 years, you know, moved up the ranks very quickly, and became an E5, you know, at you know, 2.5 years. I just was, you know, very driven as a navigational electronics, and but after 4 years, it was just the structure, you know, the discipline, and so we in the United States, we have a volunteer branch called the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. We can choose to work right alongside of them and do the job that they do, be on their ships. We just don't get paid for it. It's volunteer, but we get benefits, amazing benefits for me. But anyway, I'm going to leave the rest of the story for episode 2, because really, I'm really here to really talk about this GGR. I remember I wasn't, not when it happened, but when I, you know, obviously obsessed with sailing, and just especially the solo adventures, because I'm a solo adventurer. I've never met a person, man or woman, that wants, here in America anyway, that wants to adventure like me, you know. So I've done all my adventures by myself, and do some photograph, and you know, and writing, do some writing too. But I've never shared it. I've never shared my adventures, and you know, in the sense of on a wide scale like you all do, you know, yet. But I think it might be interesting, probably not for my Americans, but maybe for other people you Europeans and other people in the world might kind of enjoy that there's actually, you know, kind of an American that's not really a typical American. Always live, you know, I'm 66, and I finally own my first house, you know. And I have a reason for that. It's a simple little property, beachy cottage on a peninsula. Perdido Bay is north. The Intercoastal Waterway is south. The way the crow flies, a mile from the Gulf. And I'm there a lot of mornings, because my number one passion, photography is my number one passion. Videography came 20 years ago, and sound came 20 years ago. So I'm rough at that, and I don't really work a lot on my technique. I'm a raw photographer. Started when I was 10 years old. I bought my first camera. You know, I worked hard and picked, you know, in the country. Bought my first camera, which is a Kodak 110. And if you don't know what that is, Google it. Point and shoot. But I found myself having an obsession with flowers, solo flowers, tiny wildflowers. You know, I take photographs of, you know, commercial flowers and stuff, but And to this day, I do. For some reason, I mean, I'll be walking along and nobody walks with me. I'm a solo walker because I'm stopping all the time, taking photos or talking to people. I don't know. I've never known a stranger. And so solo flowers is close-ups of solo flowers is especially wildflowers. And until 5 years ago, I didn't even know what the heck these flowers were. So I found this amazing app called Picture This, which actually will tell me what the flowers is. So I thought, maybe I should share this. So I have a Facebook page called Solo Flowers by Javo, which is what I prefer to be called in the creative field, is Javo. And because, as you well know, my name's, one of the longest names on the planet. And I like to use my old name because I honor my mother and father, because I'm named after, the complete name is my father's father and my mother's father. So I'm feel blessed, so I want to honor that. But anyway, back to the race. I tell you, Don, when this Golden Globe race in 2018, before it happened, I'm like, God. And it brought back, Robin Knox Johnson and, all that stuff. So I thought, man, how can you do this, Don? How in the world are you going to get sailors to want to sail around the world like Robin Knox Johnson? Are there sailors out there like that? That was my first thought. Are there sailors out there like that, I sail simply. I've sailed in every Great Lake and boated in every Great Lake, Ohio, Mississippi River, the East Coast, the West Coast, but, I'm a line of sight navigator, I'll go out 100 miles or so, but I'm not, just to get away. I enjoy that, but then, I'm like, huh? I said, does anybody even know celestial navigation anymore? So it was just an amazing thing. And Don, I thought I had a kind of an instant connection with you because you're an adventurer. You call yourself an adventurer. I call myself an adventurer. And I'm the only adventurer that I know that I've met in my, world in my 66 years as an American. Personally, now there are adventures. I see them on, whatever. But anyway, you got this thing going, and you had this amazing behind the scenes Jane. You call her Jane. It was just a beautiful story because I don't have anybody like that in my life, that will walk beside me and that's beautiful. And I'm sure, she's so, I'm sure she's, you couldn't do it without her, and appreciate that, and love the race. Oh, love the race. And it just was really incredible. I couldn't believe that 5 finished, I thought no one would finish. I thought, my God, at least Robin Knox Johnson, his day, they're all used to, that navigational stuff. And I'm thinking, and to have Jean-Luc, to have him win it, coming in second so many times, and it's 72. And the beast Mark Schlatt's just, oh God, he's just, is a human. I mean, he's amazing. And love listening to him. And I follow him now. I'm amazed by his physical and it's got to be mental too, because it's just incredible. And Tapio and Captain Coconut, what a hoot. I mean, it's just all of them, every one of them. And to have, but this GGR 2022 is just been, I was so excited. I've been following it with, God, I hope they don't cancel. And, it's just been beautiful. And with you, Don, I just, even during this, I thought, you know what, I spent probably a week, Don, Googling everything on the internet about you and your adventures. And I've watched all the the footage and listen to interviews, and I'm sure there's other stuff out there, but it's just like, wow, this is a unique guy, and you have gifts that I don't have. All my adventures, I realize your biggest difference between me and that I've seen so far. Well, two things. One is your extreme adventures. I haven't done anything like that. The extreme adventures. And also, what a promoter you are. I mean, my God, you could. I think you could sell ice to the Eskimos. American Eskimos, and they'll think they got a good deal. It's a wonderful thing to have. I've been the opposite, and that's one of the reasons probably I haven't got any extreme adventures. Is I've self-financed my adventures, and but with I've been blessed with a gift of fixing things, and I love high-tech stuff to work on. And in my house, you look around, even here. I mean, look, I don't take it home. In the sense of high tech, I mean, look at, you see in the background the grinder. I grind my own coffee. Hell, if I knew how to roast coffee, I'd buy the raw stuff from somewhere, and I could learn. Don't get me wrong, but and you can see next to it a simple percolator, and you can see my nautical. I got little. People give me sailing stuff and lighthouses, especially. If there's a lighthouse that I go by, I've got to climb it. I love heights. I got to climb it. In the Coast Guard, they navigation electronics. I look any opportunity to climb the mast, and I tell the captain, I say, let me stay up there an hour just to take some pictures and enjoy it. When I sail, I love to climb the mast. I like an excuse to get up there, and I love. I mean, this. I know I'm sick, Don. This is really, really sick. But I love storms. I love being in storms. Not hurricanes, not that, but I love being in storms. Like in the regular Coast Guard, where we're on a ship. I mean, here I am, an E5, and seamen till the helm. There's a storm come up. I said, Captain, can I take over the helm? I just absolutely love it, and I'll tell you why. It's because I feel closest to my highest higher power, who I choose to call Love Spirit. If I want to feel really, really close, almost side by side, go out in a storm, and oh my God. It's almost like Love Spirit comes, and it's just a beautiful experience. And it keeps me focused. You can see I'm all over the place, but when I'm at the helm in a storm, I just like. And I've written a couple stories about some of my storm adventures, but that's for another time. But really, to finalize this. Is I now that I'm professionally retired in 2018, I choose to have I have everything Apple. I understand it. Apple Watch. I get of course Apple stuff. I got filming on an Apple phone, and it's just I understand Apple. That was my first computer way back when my God, they were I mean, they were expensive too. I think I paid like $3,000-4,000 for it. It just was, but that. So I think a lot of us that are creative, we understand the Apple because it's visual and ever. But what I want to end this with kudos to you all, and if I'm not your biggest fan, the GGR22 biggest fan, I have no doubt that I have no doubt that I'm your biggest American fan. I have no doubt by far, because most Americans, they just most of my America. It really it grieves me because I chose the Coast Guard after volunteering for 40 years. I immediately went in and became a national park. I'm obsessed with my national parks. I photograph, I write about them. They're just little bits of nature that there's very few places in America that is untouched. I could probably name them on one hand, and it's sad because but the biggest thing is our oceans. Oh my God, Gulf of Mexico is obviously where I live, and my passion, I wish I didn't have to do it, but my biggest thing that I do for the national parks, I photograph and really promote it, obviously. But my biggest thing is cleaning the beach. I can't walk by trash. I never could. Even I can't. Even on land, I just can't do it, and it grieves me. As you can see, all my cups, I have metal straws. I use no single use. I mean, that is pathetic. But I use as little plastic as I can. I'll pay more or whatever, and this plastic, it seems to be, the plastic is destroying the ocean and really hurting our fish. They're just, it's a sad thing. I really got caught up in that in the Volvo Ocean Race where especially the, Captain D, the woman who really, collecting all the samples and came back and did the study, and I'm just grieved by that. That's what grieves me the most is nature is my life, creation and nature is my life, and when I see it being damaged, and I believe for myself, I'm a steward to Love Spirit, and that if I don't do what I can, that I don't want Love Spirit to leave me, and I kind of that's my thing, but this is the longest goodbye I'm sure you've ever experienced, Don and Jane, but keep it up, and I'll continue to encourage, because if there's one thing about me, I look at the good in everything. You're never gonna hear a negative comment from me, because there's always negativity is killing people, and it takes, somebody says something negative, it takes like 10 positives to balance it, and but obviously, if I'm interested in something, I'll persevere and at least ask if you all might be able to do it, and because I'm just like into the race, I track myself mostly on my cell phone with the sailing, with a virtual sailing site. I can track myself, and if the wind changes, and of course, I'm looking at the weather a week, and like you do, Don, we explain, and I'm just kind of tracking myself and making some plans, and I'm competing. I'm really competing alongside I'm actually ahead of two of your competitors, your last two. But I'm really competing with my Americans that are in the virtual race. There's 36 of us, and oh man, I'm up to. There's only 3 ahead of me, and the one that's number 1 right now in the virtual race is an American. So, but they're also, I'm sure, very good with games. See, I'm still learning the game thing, and it's still learning celestial navigation, but I'm learning it through my virtual sailors. They're we have our own little, just like the regular sailors, can talk to each other on radio. We got this little, we can communicate and get answers, and so it's wonderful. It's a wonderful experience. I'm getting to know people from all over the world, people that love sailing all over the world through this virtual sail. Over 500 of us from different countries, and it's been just a beautiful thing. So that would be my only nudge, and I say that because I tell you, it really enhances the actual experience of me following, because I know what kind of weather they're dealing with. I can see the challenge, some of the challenges, in the sense, it's just really cool. And I don't know how in the world you got this virtual sailing on there. I don't know if they're one of your sponsors or whatever, but kudos to them. And I've actually been in contact with them for some suggestions that would make the virtual race more interesting and closer to the actual race. So we'll see what happens. But you guys have a blessed day, and hopefully this will inspire you guys to keep it up. In 2026, it's going to be better. I tell you, it's going to be better, and I might even somehow or another be able to be a volunteer, share the gifts that God's given me to, come over and help you guys out or do whatever I can. And I would love that. I would love that very, very much, to be able to experience that amazing town that I guess you live in now. It's your home now, Don and Jane. You have a place in China. I mean, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. And God bless you. You have an amazing day, guys. And I will be praying to Love Spirit for all of you. I do that in between my excitement and anything, because that's really the most important thing in my life, is to have a spirit. I'm not a religious man whatsoever. I'm just very spiritual, and I get it through everything. Creation, people. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing, and it fills that hole in me, because I've been sober for 18 years. I gradually became an alcoholic and destroyed my life, and that's for another time. But I believe every one of us that are human have a hole inside of us that can only be filled by the God of our understanding, and just to keep us from. Because if you get addicted to something like I did with alcohol, I got addicted when I got sober. I got addicted to quite a few other things that were unhealthy, and that's for another time. But anyway, just God bless you guys, and Love Spirit bless you, and it's been a pleasure doing this video, and I hope y'all enjoy it, and. Back to the race. I want to see if I moved up. Yeah. Bye-bye.